I started selling drugs, cocaine, and of course I got addicted to it and started losing money, and I started writing checks. I started forgery was my charge to begin with, and I wrote them on my grandmother, which I still have a lot of guilt with that, but God still deals with me on that. The first year was about $300,000. I wrote checks on her, and that went on into the years, and then it got to where I was breaking into her house, and then I was getting checks, buying checks from people, and forging people's names on everybody else's checks, and then the burglaries came in, and wow, I've gotten charged with over 100 felonies. It wasn't until I lost my grandmother that I started really feeling the hurt and the pain, and I went nuts. I started doing anything I could do to get money. I was running from the law for about a year, and when I finally ended up in jail for the 4th time in my life at 44 years old, I was bent and broken and scared, and I didn't want to go on anymore. It was like, God, I'm ready to die. And I can remember laying on that top bunk in jail, and I had 200 pills. They were Ativans, and I took every one of them. And this was a repeated cycle. I had repeatedly tried to kill myself 3 or 4 times over the last 25 years. But God intervened every time and said, no, I've got something for you. Well, this time I was serious. I really wanted to die because I did not want to go back to prison again. And so I took the 200 pills, and the last thing I remember was saying to God, I'm ready to die. And all I can think of at that moment was just, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, I just closed my eyes. And I woke up in a hospital, and God intervened once more. The devil is a liar, and God's like, you're not going anywhere. You're my child. And so that's where I met Transformation Project. I remember sitting in jail and them talking to me, and I was like, these people are so happy. They've got something that I want. And I remember getting on my knees in my jail cell, and I said, God, I know I'm going to prison, but I don't want to go to prison feeling broken. And they just picked me up and loved me. They were there for me all through prison. I took the class repeatedly over and over and over and got all the healing that I could get. I was gone for 3.5 years this last time. And when I came out, they were there with open arms. My first day out, I went to Transformation, and I haven't stopped going. I've graduated from the program. I'm now a facilitator, and I want to share my story with people and love them until they learn to love themselves, just like they did for me.